There's a reason some men linger in a woman's memory long after the relationship is over. It's not always about looks, money, or even status. Those things fade, shift, or get replaced by someone else. What really makes a man unforgettable is how he made her feel and the kind of presence he carried in her life. Because here's the truth. Women don't easily forget men who stood out, who touched their emotions deeply, or who revealed qualities most men don't even realize women crave. Think about it. Every woman has that one man she thinks about from time to time. It could be years later. She might be in a new relationship or even married, but his memory sneaks in. Sometimes it's a smile she remembers. Sometimes it's the way he carried himself with confidence. Sometimes it's how he made her feel safe, desired, and respected at the same time. These memories don't fade because they're tied to emotions, and emotions are what women hold on to more than anything else. Now here's the interesting part. Being unforgettable doesn't mean being perfect. In fact, perfection can feel boring. What makes a man unforgettable is his uniqueness, his consistency, and the little things he did that most men overlook. A man who carries himself with certainty, who treats her with a mix of respect and challenge, who leaves her feeling like she earned his attention. He becomes a man she can't shake off, no matter how much time passes. That's what I'm going to show you in this video. The 7 things that make a man truly unforgettable to a woman. These are not cliches, and they're not about playing games. They're about stepping into your role as a man in a way that naturally creates a lasting impression. An impression so deep that even if she tries to forget you, she won't be able to. So, if you've ever wondered what it takes to be that guy, the one she never forgets, stick around. By the end of 2, you'll understand exactly what women remember, why they remember it, and how you can use this to stand out from every other man in her life. 1. He carries himself with unshakable confidence. Unshakable confidence. If there's one thing that imprints itself in a woman's memory, it's a man's confidence. I'm not talking about arrogance, showing off, or trying too hard. True confidence is quiet, steady, and undeniable. It's the way you walk into a room without needing to be the loudest. It's the way you speak with certainty even if you're not saying much. It's the calm presence you bring that makes people feel you're in control of yourself. That kind of confidence lingers in a woman's mind long after you're gone. Confidence is magnetic because it signals strength and security. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who can stand strong when life gets difficult. When you show up grounded with a steady presence, it reassures her that you're not easily shaken. And that kind of man is rare. She might forget the guy who constantly sought her validation, but she will never forget the man who seemed complete on his own, who didn't need her approval to know his worth. Let's make this practical. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, a man on a date keeps fidgeting, checking if she's laughing at his jokes, adjusting his behavior based on her reactions. He's giving away his power because his confidence depends on her approval. In the second scenario, another man listens more than he speaks, takes his time responding, and doesn't rush to fill every silence. He makes eye contact without flinching, orders what he wants without hesitation, and doesn't apologize for having his own preferences. Guess which man she'll still be thinking about the next day? It's not even close. Confidence also shows up in how you handle setbacks. If she sees you lose, you are cool, complain about everything, or crumble when something doesn't go your way, she might sympathize, but she won't admire you. On the other hand, if you handle challenges with calmness, take responsibility, and move forward without drama, she will remember that. Women remember men who embody resilience because that's the kind of man who makes her feel safe in his presence. And here's the best part. Confidence isn't about being flawless. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. You can be nervous and still confident if you don't let it control you. You can admit when you don't know something without feeling inferior. That honesty paired with self-assurance is what makes confidence unforgettable. 2. He makes her feel truly seen, truly seen. One of the most powerful things a man can do, yet something so few ever master, is making a woman feel truly seen. Not just looked at, not just heard in passing, but deeply understood. And when a man gives her that rare experience, trust me, she never forgets him. Think about how most men interact with women. Many are distracted, half-present, or more focused on impressing her than actually connecting with her. They're waiting for their turn to speak instead of listening. They're staring at her body without noticing her mood. That kind of shallow attention fades quickly. It doesn't leave a mark. But when you slow down, pay attention, and show genuine curiosity, it changes everything. If she's talking about her day, don't just nod. Ask follow-up questions that show you actually care about what she's saying. If she changes, her tone or her energy drops, pick up on it and address it. Women remember the men who notice the small details. Her smile fading for a second, the way she lights up when she talks about something she loves, or even the fact that she ordered her coffee a certain way last time. Why does this matter so much? Because women are constantly being judged based on appearance, surface-level traits, or quick assumptions. When a man cuts through that and sees who she really is, it feels different. It feels rare, and people never forget the ones who make them feel rare. This doesn't mean you have to overanalyze her or put her on a pedestal. It simply means you engage with her as a human being, not just as someone you're trying to win over. That's the difference between a guy she forgets tomorrow and a man she thinks about for years. Let me put it this way. She'll forget the man who only complimented her looks. She'll remember the man who noticed her ambition, her sense of humor, or the way she always tries to take care of the people around her. She'll forget the man who just heard her words. She'll remember the man who understood the emotion behind those words. This kind of presence makes a woman feel safe enough to open up. And when she opens up to you, she ties that sense of comfort and connection to you personally. That's what makes you unforgettable. You gave her an experience most men never could. 3. He stays true to his word. If there's one thing that makes a man unforgettable, it's this. He does what he says he's going to do. It sounds simple, but in today's world, reliability is rare. Most people throw around promises they can't keep, or they overcommit and underdell. But when a man's words and actions actually match, that consistency leaves a deep impression on a woman. Here's why. Women deal with a lot of uncertainty when it comes to men. Some say they'll call and don't. Some talk about plans but never follow through. Others show interest one day, then disappear the next. That inconsistency creates confusion, mistrust, and emotional exhaustion. So when a man comes along who is different, who actually backs up his words with action, he immediately stands out. It's no just about grand gestures. You don't have to promise her the world or do something over the top. It's the small things that build trust. If you say you'll meet her at 7, show up at 7. If you tell her, those little moments communicate something bigger, that you are dependable, that your word carries weight, and that you're not just saying things to get her attention. And here's the key. Women never forget how a man made them feel. A man who consistently follows through makes her feel secure, respected, and valued. That sense of safety is powerful. Long after the relationship ends, if it ever does, she'll still remember that he was the man she could count on. Contrast that with the men who talk big, but never follow through. They may get attention in the moment, but they fade quickly from memory because they never build trust. A man who breaks his word might be exciting for a short while, but he's not the man she remembers years later. The unforgettable man is the one who built a reputation of consistency. Another thing, when you stay true to your word, it's not just about her. It also reflects who you are as a man. Women respect men whose actions show discipline, integrity, and self-control. She notices when you hold yourself to a standard, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's difficult. That's when she realizes you're different from the rest. 4. He brings out her femininity, There's something magnetic about a man who naturally brings out a woman's softer feminine side. It's not about controlling her or forcing her into a role. It's about creating an energy that allows her to feel safe enough to relax into her natural femininity. That's the kind of man women never forget. See, in today's world, many women spend their days operating in a masculine frame. They're working hard, making decisions, solving problems, and carrying responsibilities. By the time she meets a man, she's often tired of leading and controlling everything. She doesn't want to fight for dominance in her personal life. She wants to be with a man who helps her feel like she can let go, lean back, and just be. How does a man do that? By standing firmly in his masculine energy. When you lead, when you stay calm under pressure, when you take initiative without hesitation, she feels it. She doesn't have to question whether you can handle life. She doesn't have to wonder if she has to step in and manage everything. That's when she starts to soften. That's when she feels feminine, playful, even vulnerable with you. And here's the secret. Women never forget the men who allow them to feel more like themselves. If you give her the space to embrace her femininity without judgment, she'll always associate you with a feeling of freedom and authenticity that sticks with her long after the relationship. She'll remember how her guard came down with you in a way it didn't with anyone else. But here's where most men go wrong. They think being masculine means being controlling, aggressive, or dominating. It's not. True masculine presence isn't about overpowering her. It's about being grounded enough that she trusts you without you saying a word. It's the confidence in how you carry yourself, the decisiveness in your choices, and the calm strength you bring into a room. That's what shifts her into her feminine. And don't underestimate how rare this is. A lot of men today are either too passive or too controlling. Both extremes kill attraction. The unforgettable man is the one who strikes the balance. Strong but not overbearing, steady but not rigid, confident without arrogance. That's when she feels safe enough to let her femininity come alive. 5. He knows when to walk away, knows when to walk away. One of the hardest lessons for men to accept is this. Women never forget the man who knew his worth enough to walk away. It's not the guy who begged, pleaded, or tried to convince her to stay who sticks in her memory. It's the one who drew a line, respected himself, and left with dignity when she stopped valuing him. Imagine this. A woman starts pulling away in a relationship. She's colder, more distant, maybe even disrespectful. Most men panic in this situation. They chase harder, text more, argue or try to win her back with attention and effort. But what happens? The more they do that, the more she loses respect, because deep down she feels he's willing to accept anything just to keep her around. Now think about the man who handles it differently. He notices her pulling away. He gives her space. And when it becomes clear that she's checked out, he doesn't beg. He doesn't lower himself. He calmly steps back and lets her go. That moment burns into her memory. Why? Because it shows strength. It shows he values himself enough not to fight for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. That kind of self-respect leaves a mark on a woman. She might not admit it right away, but deep down, she'll always remember the man who didn't crumble when she withdrew her affection. He walked away with his head high, and that image is powerful. Even years later, she'll compare other men to him, and most won't measure up. See, walking away isn't about playing games. It's not about punishing her or trying to manipulate her into coming back. It's about being so grounded in your own value that you won't settle for less than the respect and love you deserve. And women never forget that. They might forget the man who tolerated everything just to keep them, but they will always remember the man who chose himself when the relationship no longer, he doesn't lose himself in her, served him. 6, he doesn't lose himself in her. One of the biggest mistakes men make in relationships is giving up who they are the moment a woman comes into their life. They stop doing the things they enjoy, they abandon their passions, and they reshape their lives around her. At first it might feel romantic, but over time this makes a man forgettable. Why? Because when you lose yourself in her, you also lose the very qualities that made her attracted to you in the first place. Women never forget the man who doesn't fall into this trap. The man who keeps his identity, his routine, and his drive, no matter how much he loves her. That's the man who stands out. It's not that women want you to ignore them or put them last, but they respect and remember a man who has a life that doesn't revolve entirely around them. Think about it from her perspective. If every decision you make depends on her, if you stop pursuing your goals, and if you only exist in the relationship, you become predictable and eventually uninteresting. But a man who maintains his independence, who continues to chase his ambitions, and who balances love with his own purpose, that man is rare, and rare is unforgettable. Women won't often tell you she's more likely to admire, desire, and remember you if she knows she doesn't own every piece of you. If she sees that you still belong to your goals, your mission, and your passions, she feels challenged in the best way. She realizes she has to keep showing up to earn a place in your life because you're not just handing it all over on a silver platter. This doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means being a man who can give love while still holding on to himself. The kind of man who can share his world with her without abandoning it. That's powerful. That's what leaves an impression, because most men fade from memory because they became too easy, too available, too centered around her. But the man who continues to be himself, fully and unapologetically, is the man she'll never forget. He's the one who keeps her guessing, keeps her respecting him, and keeps her thinking about him long after he's gone. So don't lose yourself in her. Hold on to your identity, your passions, your sense of self. Women don't forget the man who can love them deeply while still loving himself enough to keep his own life alive. That balance makes you unforgettable. He makes her rise to his standard. 7, he makes her rise to his standard. Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. If you don't set a standard for how you expect to be treated, a woman won't respect you, and she definitely won't remember you. Women never forget the man who had the courage to hold her accountable, the man who didn't let her walk all over him, the man who challenged her to bring her best self to the relationship. Too many men bend over backward to please a woman, thinking that's what will win her heart. They let her mood swings go unchecked. They tolerate disrespect, and they accept behavior they know isn't right just to keep her around. But do you know what that actually does? It makes you blend in with every other man she's met who was too scared to lose her. And men like that are forgettable. A woman never forgets the man who wasn't afraid to call her out when she was wrong, who calmly but firmly said, "That doesn't work for me," or who simply walked away when she crossed a line. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of self-respect. That's the kind of man who lingers in her mind. Why? Because women know deep down that when a man sets a high standard, it forces them to rise or fall. And if she does rise, she never forgets the man who demanded her best. He becomes a turning point in her life, a reminder of what a strong man looks like and what she should never settle for again. You need to understand this. Being firm doesn't mean being controlling, harsh, or cold. It means being confident enough to know what you deserve and strong enough to enforce it. A man with boundaries is a man who commands respect, and respect is the foundation of attraction that lasts. If you're the kind of man who lets things slide, who avoids confrontation, or who constantly apologizes just to smooth things over, you'll end up invisible in her memory. But if you're the man who holds your ground, who shows her through your actions that you won't accept less than what you give, then you're the man she thinks about long after you've left. Conclusion. Here's something you need to let sink in. A woman may forget the man who bought her gifts, who texted her non-stop, or who bent over backward just to keep her happy. But she will never forget the man who stood tall, lived with purpose, and demanded respect, not only from her, but from himself. That's the difference between being a passing chapter in her life and being the story she remembers long after it's over. And, let me be brutally honest here, women don't talk about this openly because it exposes the truth. We don't fall for men who give us everything too easily. We remember the men who made us think, who challenged us, who forced us to grow. Those are the men we measure every other guy against. So if you want to be unforgettable, stop chasing approval and start focusing on being that kind of man. The one who keeps his word, the one who respects himself, the one who doesn't lose his identity in a relationship. That's the man who gets remembered. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 things do you think you've struggled with the most? Or maybe you've experienced being unforgettable in a woman's life. What happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be checking in and engaging with you guys because these conversations are where real growth happens. Remember this, being unforgettable isn't about impressing women. It's about being a man worth remembering.